But before we start the review, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment below and join the discussion here on Cell Reviews. And also don't forget to tune in for the Korean Bloggers podcast, which happens every Monday and Thursday.
Bro.
Yes.
I want to get mums out of the way.
Okay, mum's question. When are you going to have another baby and do you want a son?
Lie it, mum, man. That's not a question to ask me, you get what I'm saying?
Hello and welcome to Statistics TV. I'm your boy T. So we're back for another review on Cell Reviews. And today we are reviewing the none other than Skepta, Big Skeppy, on his latest album called Is Bliss. I'm no stranger to him. I've literally grown up with his music. I literally started listening to him on Microphone Champion. I think the track was Open Up but with Gigs. That was the track that my brother was hounding into my head to get it, to just listen to. And from there, I just fell in love with the guy's lyricism. I love his technical ability. Every album he has released, he has not disappointed me personally, except for Konnichiwa. There was a lot of eyebrows that I raised when I saw the title of this album. It was called Ignorance in Bliss. The first thing I thought about was, why would you pick this title? For any philosopher, right, looking on this album title, is basically telling you to be ignorant, which goes against every philosophy there is, because philosophy aims to absorb ignorance and, you know, just pretty much remediate the idea of ignorance and just get people to thinking a little bit, rather than have them remove themselves from knowledge. However, with the title in mind, there are some things that you would want to be privy to, and which is where it comes from. You know, you may want to exercise caution before listening to this if you're not ready for some part of knowledge. I mean, that's the way I took it. That's, you know, because that's where I believe the saying comes from. It's not really trying to tell you to not learn new things, because some people may believe that by seeing that title that they should not listen to a project because it's just going to promote ideals that isn't going to warrant people to not research further. However, the album is far from that. Let me explain. To be honest, there's a lot of growth that we're seeing from Skepta as an artist. I mean, he's like, when he first started off rapping, there was, in my honest opinion, he was very materialistic and very individualistic, very also an egoist. Like, he pretty much was self-willed. He lived for the pleasures. He was also an hedonist as well. He was pretty much only living out for himself, caring for himself. And pretty much the albums that he's put out, from Microphone Champion on to Doing Again, these were the two albums that pretty much showed the braggadocious side. And he done a very good job with especially with Doing It Again. He done a very good job in actually getting you to understand where it's coming from, getting you to understand why he is like that. The one thing I admire about Skepta is that every album that he's done is always built upon the message he was trying to deliver in the last album. So with Microphone Champion, he would make a lot of references to Ed Hardy jeans and, like, you know, sorry, not Ed Hardy jeans, Ed Hardy clothing, Ed Hardy garments, all of those things. He would make references to those items, like having the best watches, having the best. But in the next album, he would explain why gone for those things. In Doing It Again, especially living a hedonistic lifestyle in terms of all over the house, in terms of amnesia, those kind of tracks kind of parallels back again into Microphone Champion, because he was kind of alluding to these kind of lifestyles.
There's so much distractions in my life. Like, see, when I wake up in the morning, my mind's clear. I know exactly what I want to do. But then throughout the day, text messages, people, you know what I'm saying, different things, like distractions are happening, and then you have to live this, you know, you do this other.
When he was actually dreaming of becoming the best there is, dream of getting the recognition that he was deserving, and Doing Again was the album that brought him that recognition. The point I'm making here is he builds on every album. And also, the one thing I've always loved about Skepta, when he first started out, he brought a very lighter side to his rapping, to his storytelling. But this died down when the minute that Blacklisted, I believe, it's not an album, it's a mixtape, so I'm not gonna be touching on it to compare it. But I will say, to understand Konnichiwa, you need to really listen to Blacklisted, because Konnichiwa was more of a completion of the story that was being told in Blacklisted. Konnichiwa, compared to all the other albums, was a very different Skepta that a lot of us don't know. Yes, he still held on to the materialistic mindset, the hedonistic mindset, although he was scaled down. This one was more of, he began, you can see his mindset change into more of an anarchy, like where he believes that the system must be brought down. And like I said, Blacklisted kind of brought this forward. That was the mixtape to kind of show you that change of view and change of perceptions, because he was censored a lot due to a lot of the themes and a lot of the stories that was telling on Doing Again in that album, especially the controversy that was caused by All Over the House. Trust me, if you're in uni and you haven't seen that video yet, don't scar yourself, because I have went and saw the video. We can immediately see the growth that he has undergone, the process that he's now becoming self-reliant. He's now becoming a voice for the people. He's now learning that, hey, this industry is really not for us. It's really not for the sound I'm trying to make. So he took on a more of a collective mindset. This is when he really started showing his loyal side, because that's the one fact I loved about Skepta. Like in Konnichiwa, he was still doing tracks with BBK. In Doing It Again, he was still doing tracks with BBK. In Microphone Champion, you name it, it's always been there. And even on this brand new album, still doing tracks with BBK. So this is something that I admire a lot about Skepta, because that's who he really is. He's true to his character. I don't want this to turn into an artist profile, but you can't understand and appreciate this album without understanding the artist, because there is a lot of build up that has been paid off here, if that makes sense, from Microphone Champion. The fact alone that he became, like, you know, he's now a father, you can see why he's very loyal now. He's very collective minded now. He's trying to pave a way. He has a vision that he's trying to pave a way to create a better world for not just his friends, but it's now his child. You can kind of understand the themes that's going on and what exactly he's actually trying to tell you. Going back to the title, you may be misled, or you may be thinking he's telling you why ignorance is bliss, but he's more of warning you that if you're gonna listen to this and you're not ready for what I'm gonna tell you, then it is better to be ignorant. I do realize that a lot of, when these artists, they go out to make their music, a lot of people believe and they think that just because they say this and say that they should stick to it. Listening to this album, it's kind of giving me the sense that he's heard that, he's kind of understood that when you do grow as a human being, that idea that people have of you, if the other person doesn't change themselves, that idea will forever remain in their heads. So they're gonna think that you are contradicting your messages, what you were sending before, on your quote unquote a sellout. On this album, you can see how it would contradict. Like, you know, I see growth, but people might see, nah, he's sold out, he's now doing this, he's now doing that. I personally see that his message is changing because he's dealt with different things. He's now in a different position in his life.
I really want to be I want to be a voice that sparks change. So, you know, a lot of these youngsters of today, they're going to be the new, like, MPs, police officers, and everything that goes on in the, you know, the world that we're...
Also, like I said, the last track, Pure Water, like, what he was talking about, again, he's going back, even though in the start of the album, he was talking about him giving up recreational drugs. It's like, you know, it's cutting down on the hedonism. He then mentions the recreational drugs again and the alcoholism again in the final track, Pure Water, which just goes to show you that everything is probable. Like, nothing is ever absolute. Like, as much as we want things to be absolute, nothing is ever absolute, which is why, and again, crazy nod back to the title, but it's also why it's called Ignorance is Bliss, because if you're not really ready to really accept or hear this album, you might as well stay ignorant. You might as well not wanna listen to it. You might as well close your eyes. Like, there's a picture montage on the album cover, which makes complete sense when I actually start to realize and start to see that this album is more of a payoff to every other album that he's released. And also in Konnichiwa, in the last track, Got Your Text, when he was messaging Chip, and he was also talking there, and he was saying this is what you're meant to do. Again, that album provide that context alone has set the stage for Ignorance is Bliss, simply because of the fact that he is a lot more self-deterministic on this project. He is a lot more self-willed. He acknowledges that his parents are the reasons why he's here. There is a lot of nods to this in this album, but however, you do not hear him attaching his sex to anything else but himself. A lot of people might view this as narcissistic or anything like that, but I just personally view it as self-determining. Like, he's just a person who has understood this is what he has to do for his friends and family, and this is the step he's gonna take. And like, he believes he believes that his parents suffering and bringing him into the UK, there is no way they just brought him here so they can put flyers on windscreens. He sees a greater life for himself. And how do you then fault someone who does see a greater life for himself? How do you then fault them for going after that at full throttle? You know, there's nothing better than the fact that he said, I'm doing all of this, like he was speaking to his mom. He said, I'm doing all this so that you don't have to cry. Like that alone, I'm just like, I get it. So F everyone else that's saying you've changed or I don't care. If you're doing the like you will never understand, and it is very ignorant. And maybe you should stay ignorant because you're not ready to hear what the album was amazing, in my honest opinion. There are obviously points I could critique, but let's not. For this album, it really was flawless, in my honest opinion. This is the growth that he's gone through as an artist and as a person. It was a worthwhile listen, and the replay values on this album is through the roof, especially if you're a fan. If you're a fan, it's through the roof. This album was, if you're a fan, you're gonna love it. That's the way I gotta see. If you're a fan who has listened to Skepta from day one, and then you've heard his story, you've heard everything he's gone through, this brings you kind of a balanced view. Depending on how open-minded you are as a person, this will bring you a kind of a satisfaction that I'm glad he was listening. I'm glad he's actually taking the time to actually explain and walk you through each and every point, like that he's been through. I still think that you enjoy it. I personally felt that the instrumentation was clean on this album. This is the best I've heard Skepta, in my honest opinion. But that's because I'm a fan. If I was to be looking at it objectively, I would look at doing it again as probably a standout project, simply because of the hits that are on the album. I can't deny it. This album has hits too, but in terms of standout, that's not what you're gonna get from it. Like, there's no standout tracks to actually mention and say, yeah, this is the noteworthy track, or this is the placeholder hit that can top another hit from, let's say, Doing It Again or Microphone Champion's a bit dated now. So this album, for a fan, is a great payoff. It's a great cap. And I'm really excited to hear what he has to say next. I honestly gave this album a 3%. Thank you so much for checking out this review. I'm very curious to know your thoughts on this album, and I know it's an album that really has divided opinions, simply because of the fact that the UK scene has really grown exponentially in the past few years. Chip has dropped an album, Getz has dropped an album, Dave has dropped an album that's done exceptionally well. It's been really highly praised. And Mostak, AJ Tracy, they've all dropped albums that have been well received. So Skepta, I'm not surprised that he has given up recreational drugs for a whole, I believe, 6 months. He was said on the interview, so that he can complete this album and so they can give the best true sound on this album. I'm not surprised. This album is really up there. as one of the best, if not the best. Honestly, yeah, I just want to hear your views and thoughts on the album and what you think of the work. I personally think this is, like I said, it's Skepta's best work. It's a great payoff. It's for me as a fan, I'm eagerly waiting to see how he tops this. I'm eagerly waiting to see what he comes out with next.